Okay. Hi, Sharon. We're going to be talking today about some of the benefits that you've experienced from your REDjuvenator #3. And I'll just let you talk about how you feel that your health has improved since then. So first of all, let me just ask you a quick question. When did you first get your REDjuvenator #3?
It was in early September, so just 4 months ago.
Okay, 4 months ago. Yeah, because and what kind of health issues were you having back then?
I have chronic muscle pain and thyroid disease, would be the two main ones.
Okay. And you are also very sensitive to EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies?
Yes, we discovered that 3 years ago and really zoomed in on it about a year ago.
Okay. So, so you got your REDjuvenator. How was it when you started treating? What were you doing for treatments?
I did sleep protocol first. I took it slow because I wasn't sure how my body would take it for various reasons, because my body is sensitive to things, any changes. And so I did sleep protocol, and I was waking up way early. The sun, of course, rises early in the morning in the summer, and I was used to that, but it was getting later and I was wanting to sleep, and I wasn't able to sleep longer. So that was my hope, that I'd be able to sleep longer. That has happened gradually through the winter. So I think that's more just a circadian rhythm slide. But with the sleep protocol, I did feel like my sleep improved. And I sleep with pillows, so I always know I roll over, and I would wake up and I go, how'd I get here? I didn't remember rolling over. Sometimes I would have difficulty going back to sleep when I would wake in the middle of the night for maybe half hour or so. And sometimes I would wake up in the morning and go, I'm sure I got up in the night, but I hardly remember that I got up in the night.
Well, and that's very common. When people start doing the sleep protocol, you sleep so much more deeply and soundly, and you actually often need less sleep. So people think, well, I need more sleep. It's like, actually, no, you just need more efficient sleep. So when I do it, it's like I actually sleep fewer hours and feel more rested and wide awake and refreshed when I get up, when I do the sleep protocol. So that is very common, that you will not necessarily sleep more hours. You'll often sleep fewer hours because you're getting that amount of sleep that you're getting is so much more efficient. Right. So that's a very common thing. So right. What other kinds of things were you treating? You've been seeing 3 other practitioners, correct?
Right. I see an applied kinesiology chiropractor, I see an acupuncturist, and I see a non-traditional physical therapist.
Okay. And so what did they remark to you after you had been using the REDjuvenator for a while?
The chiropractor had said I seem to be responding so much more quickly and readily to his treatments, more like his normal patients rather than his special patients like me. Right. And then the
more challenging patients, right? A lot more sessions because you're not responding. Your body isn't responding the way that it typically would. So now,
and the acupuncturist asked, "Well, why aren't you mentioning your low back pain? You know, you always mention your low back pain." And I said, "That's the first thing that improved, and it improved when I was only doing sleep protocol. The low back pain improved." And so she said, "Well, I'm surprised." And I took my REDjuvenator to each one, well, not to the PT yet, but the other 2 practitioners. And the acupuncturist even said, "Oh my, I can feel the energy. I want one."
Yeah, because people that are energy sensitive, I mean, even people that aren't, you immediately feel that healing energy that's coming off them, because they're much more than just a red light therapy device. They've got additional healing energies. So I designed them so that they heal systemically. They replenish your depleted life force energy, which is why people often, when they're on this healing journey, a lot of times they focus on all the physical things and changing their diet and that sort of thing, and then they plateau. They get to a certain level of healing, they're improved, but they can't get beyond that. Or if they do, it's so gradual, it's just taking forever for the healing process. So this really ramps up the speed because it's replenishing those depleted life force energies. It's like before, you're running on a gas tank that's constantly on empty, and you just get enough energy to get to the next gas station constantly. So that's why people often feel so tired all the time.
Right. And the PT in particular, I don't know if you're familiar with what unwinding is from myofascial release, but before I go for 2-hour sessions, and I might unwind by the last half hour or so, or maybe not at all. And it's been getting faster and more. And the past 2 times, she hardly started touching me, and there was unwinding the whole 2 hours or more.
Yeah.
And so, what was mentioned by one in particular, the chiropractor, he said, "You're just not the same person that I saw you started seeing 5 years ago, but in the last 4 months, you're not the same person that was here 4 months ago."
Right.
And he even kind of alluded to the fact that the REDjuvenator was an additional practitioner right now, because we were talking about who all I was seeing for practitioners, and he goes, "Well, don't forget your red panel."
Right. Yeah, and it is, and I designed it that way because I knew I stopped seeing one-on-one patients several years ago when I started teaching globally about the science of healing, the healing power of color and light, because I can't do both. And I realized it was such an ineffective use of my time doing one-on-one healing work, when really it's like, for me, it's like you bring up the person's depleted life force energy, you give them the healing energies that they need and the knowledge that they need, then you shouldn't need to keep coming back to a practitioner. So it's like, what can I do to give people a tool that they can use in their own home, in the privacy of their own home? They don't have to be going to all these appointments, and they can actually take control of their own healing process again. So that was where it's like, okay, it has to be much more than just a red light therapy device. It has to be like an energy medicine treatment at the same time, where you're getting all of these, bringing back all of these depleted life force energies that have, gone by the wayside, which for so many people, when you just focus on healing the physical body, you can't finish the healing process, because the physical body needs the fuel, but if you're not getting the life force energy, which is the fuel for healing, the healing can't happen, or it can only get to a certain level. So that's where it's like, again, filling up your gas tank so you're not constantly running on fumes. Right. So that's what I designed the REDjuvenator to do. So it's like you're getting a one-on-one healing session with me, but I don't actually have to be there physically in the room, because you've got my invention instead. So that's a very good analogy, though. So tell me about your recent phone call with your grandkids, where you did a FaceTime and you try to avoid holding your cell phone in your hand because of your EMF sensitivity, right?
Right. I do, but my daughter-in-law's phone was acting up, and so she couldn't do the Google Hangouts. So I said, I can risk 5 or 10 minutes with FaceTime on my phone. Let's try it, because it was my birthday. They made me a cake. They're in New York, and I'm in Iowa. So, and they're 2 and 4. So I didn't want to disappoint them. And so, and I wanted some screenshots to post on Facebook. And so I risked touching the phone with both hands to do a screenshot. And of course, the right hand is up there by the antenna to do that. And before the 5 minutes was over from taking just 4 screenshots, I had nerve pain down the hand and up in the shoulder and the neck and the head. And we got off the call, and it was near time for lunch, and I thought, I wonder, I really feel badly, and we're going away this afternoon, and I want to feel better. I wonder if the REDjuvenator will help that, and how can I treat it while I eat lunch, because I'm under a time crunch. Right. And so I thought, well, let's just hit this, the upper back. And the neck area, where I can get this whole shoulder neck area where it felt the worst. So I did that for 20 minutes during lunch, and before the 20 minutes was up, it felt considerably better. And then later that same day, we keep the phones on airplane mode in the car, but my husband checked something in a store and forgot to put his phone back on airplane mode. We're driving home, and I'm like, I've been feeling worse and worse again. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know why I'm feeling so badly. And I said, did you put your phone back on airplane mode? And he goes, I'm sure I did.
Airplane mode.
Yeah, yeah. And I put it on for when you're in the car. And he said, I'm sure I did. And he checked it, and he went, oops, no, I didn't. And well, that explains why I'm feeling really sick in my head and neck. And so we were going to watch a movie when we got home. So I just used the REDjuvenator for 10 minutes on it. I said, if it doesn't bother you while we're watching a movie, 10 minutes on this side and 10 minutes on this side, because I thought, well, then I'm getting the whole neck and head for 20 minutes. And I did that. And then I think I did bottom of the feet and maybe even some back treatments. But even when I just was doing just the neck, by the time I was done, I could turn the head. It felt so much better. Yeah. And I thought, wow, twice in the same day to get zapped, but then twice in the same day to be able to use the REDjuvenator and go, oh, okay, I don't have to feel this pain till tomorrow or the next day, when it might.
Which would be your normal EMF.
It would probably, if it got that bad, zapped twice like that, it could take till the next day, depending at this time of year, because I can't go out barefoot and ground when it's winter in Iowa. And that would be the best help for me if it would happen, to just get out there and earth. And I have earthing pads in the house hooked through a grounding rod in the ground. but that's still not the effect of full bare feet out in the sun.
Right. Yeah. So your rejuvenator is kind of taking the place of that. And in addition to having all these other healing energies that's providing you with at the same time, but it's mitigating EMF sensitivity.
Right.
So you're not only, even when you get like an extreme zap from your cell phone where you get so depleted and so much pain from that exposure to those EMF radiation or whatever you want to call it, that it's mitigating that and actually immediately canceling it out if you use your rejuvenator afterwards.
Right.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people can't maybe relate to this level of sensitivity, but some people, when they've been sick for a very long time, they've had chronic issues, your energy body has gotten so depleted, then it's like we have energy body immunity just like we have physical immunity. Physical immunity protects us against pathogens like bacteria, viruses, things like that. So you know that if you have like depleted immune function in your physical body and you get on an airplane and somebody in the plane has a cold, you're probably going to get off that plane and have that cold. If you have a strong immune function in your physical body, you can be in a plane full of people that are hacking and coughing and you're not going to get that cold. It's the same thing with your energy body. When your energy body is depleted, you cannot be resistant against EMF pathogens. And they're all around us, but when people get to that level of sensitivity, it's just being in those high EMF environments or in areas that have fluorescent lighting or things that would normally be okay if your energy body is healthy. With people that your energy body is struggling already, then it depletes you even more, and it can be very, very fast. So like I said, not everybody is to that level of sensitivity to EMF, but what you've found is that the rejuvenator not only doesn't add to that, it actually mitigates and protects and heals you against those when you get those bombardments of EMF, right?
Definitely. And I do want to mention one thing you've said in your post recently that really helped me understand EMF sensitivity. That's something I did not know that helped me relax even more with my rejuvenator, is when you mentioned that electric fields just plain wear our bodies out, but it's the radio frequencies that actually cause us DNA damage and that kind of stuff. So
magnetic
mitochondria damage and
magnetic frequency,
magnetic frequencies, and then from the cell phones, and
the cell phone, yes, they do.
But those can cause damage, whereas the electric fields, like from our wiring and stuff, typically just cause us to become more tired.
Exactly. Yeah, which is why people, if they're working on their computer for a long time, they'll start to get depleted and tired and like drained like that.
But that helped me relax with my rejuvenator even more, to know that little tidbit that I didn't know. I just kind of lumped it all together as all EMFs would do.
Well, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of fear mongering happening too. So then people get even more paranoid. But yeah, so there are ways that you can protect yourself, and there are ways, and using the rejuvenator, I also put that protective factor into them. So it boosts your energy body immunity because it's replenishing those depleted life force energies. Again, it's much more than just a red light therapy device, because it's kind of like, the healing energies that we get when we go out into nature, when we're out in nature and we're earthing and we're putting our feet directly on the ground. That's not something that is, technology is measuring as far as wavelengths that are coming from sunlight. So I use the analogy, for example, like have you ever been in a dangerous neighborhood?
Not much.
Okay, probably not. Well, most people that have, the way that you know that you're in a dangerous neighborhood, I mean, you may be in a rundown neighborhood and it's not dangerous. So it's not so much visual cues. What most people say instantly is like, how do you know you're in a dangerous neighborhood? It's a feeling. It's like, I just get this feeling like I'm in danger. It can be broad daylight, but I just feel like I need to get out of here. There's something that is threatening to me here, and I know I need to leave. Now, and this could be in the middle of a bright sunny day, you can go now 2 or 3 blocks over, and it may still be a rundown neighborhood, but it's like here, it's like, oh, okay, I don't feel like I'm in danger. It's still not a beautiful neighborhood, but I'm not feeling like I really need to get out of here. I feel perfectly safe walking along the street. Now you go another 3 blocks away, now you're maybe in the middle of this wood, this forest or whatever that's, and now you're in the forest surrounded by trees and nature, and now you feel this amazing healing energy. You know what that's like, right? When you're in nature, like when you Yeah, so you get this, it's like, now I feel enveloped in this positive healing energy. It's the same day, same sunshine coming from the sun, you know, and if you're in the dangerous neighborhood, the safe but rundown neighborhood, and in the forest, it's the same sun that's going to be shining down on you, right? So there's a machine called a spectrometer. Have you ever heard of those?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so spectrometers actually measure wavelengths of light that are coming from sunlight. They measure the actual, you know, light how much red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet is coming from the sun. You can use it for measuring light from an artificial light source as well. So what it measures is wavelengths of light. It has the technology to be able to record that data. So I know how much red color there is from the sun. In the morning, there's more red from sunlight. In the middle of the day, there's a lot more blue and green. That's coming down the shorter wavelengths. So if you take a spectrometer reading on the same day, the same time of day, you take a spectrometer reading in the dangerous neighborhood where you feel that unsafe energy, you take a spectrometer reading in the rundown neighborhood, but not dangerous, and you take a spectrometer reading in the forest, what do you think the difference will be in those wavelengths that it's measuring from the sun?
Initially, I would just assume it would be the same, but I'm wondering whether you're going to tell me something different.
No, you're right. It's going to be exactly the same, because the machine can only measure wavelengths of light. It can't measure the dangerous feeling. It can't measure the safe, you know, nurturing and the protective feeling and the healing feeling that you get from being in the woods. It can't measure those subtle energies, but what it can measure is visible light. So what all other light therapy devices focus on is the wavelengths of light, because that is what we have been able to measure with science and medical research. And we can say these wavelengths of light cause this chemical effect in the body. We can see that it's red and near infrared stimulate the mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cells. We can see that blue light will actually, when you shine it on a baby with jaundice, will actually go in and the blood will absorb it and will change the bilirubin, which is the chemical that has built up in the baby's blood that is making the baby turn yellow. It will actually change the chemical structure of that blue light shone on the baby's skin. So they can measure the wavelengths of light and they can measure the chemical effect, so the result. But they can't measure, you know, when you go into nature and you have that healing energy surrounding you and how good that feels in your body, and how if you were able to completely unplug and live off the grid and only be in nature and have no stress in your life, your body would probably be perfectly healthy or would heal very quickly. So, but not everybody has the ability to do that, completely unplug from daily life and go live, you know, isolated in nature, no EMF, no technology, nothing like that, and no stress. So the REDjuvenator, I designed it so that it brings in all of those healing energies that you would get when you're out walking in the woods in nature, because it's like an energy medicine treatment with quantum energy healing codes that I put in, and that's where you get these exponentially more pronounced healing benefits than just straight red light therapy alone or near infrared therapy. It does all of that, but it's like exponentially more because they all work together, and it's the additional healing energies that reinforce and they replenish the depleted life force energy. Because that's where a lot of times people are like, I don't understand. I've tried so many other light therapy devices and none of them did anything like this. They would heal a little bit, or they would help, you know, wounds heal, or they would maybe make my muscle feel a little bit less sore, but nothing like these systemic healing effects that I'm having from the REDjuvenator. So that's why when people try to understand, you know, and why, like, how is it possible that I get this strong reaction from holding my cell phone, but then I use my REDjuvenator and then all that pain goes away that normally would last at least until the following day. So it's because it's healing at a subtle energy, and it's healing your energy body directly. Does that resonate?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so when you first got your REDjuvenator, you thought it was like it was kind of a stretch for your budget, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
I ask my husband if anything's over $300. I ask him, and I told him all my research.
Yeah.
I learned, and he said, "If you think it will help, go ahead." And I was like, "Okay."
So you got your first one, and then you were having all these benefits from it. And then what happened with your husband
what he was harvesting, and he would come in with tight muscles. He started using it in the nighttime on his back. I would just lay it on his back before bed, and that's all he was interested in. He was tired, just wanted to sleep. But when he was finished with harvest, he wanted to use it more in the evenings, and to the point where one evening we were watching a movie, and I'd use it on my back, 2 20-minute sessions, and thought, oh, let's this thing cool down a little bit, and I'll continue. So I asked him to unplug it from the wall nearby him, and he grabbed hold of it and said, put it under his feet and said, you snooze, you lose. That's mine now. It's mine now. Yeah. So he wanted to use it more, and I wanted to go to bed with it, and he wanted to still use it. So I was telling him 2 things. One, if we have a second one, for his birthday's the end of November, mine's in January. I said, if we do Christmas and all of our birthdays, do you think we could get another one? And he didn't hesitate. Yeah. He just said, yeah, I think that would be just fine. And so we ordered the second one, and I thought we could share at the same time, we could use it, and sometimes we could use it 2 panels at once, which I have done only a couple of times. But when I've done a time crunch in the morning and I haven't woke up soon enough, I'll treat my 2 typical morning areas that I do in bed. I treat them at the same time now.
Yeah, it's time save. Yeah, it definitely, because you're getting the double whammy. You get to treat 2 different areas, or you can treat both sides of one area at the same time, so it saves time. Yeah, so that's great. So you realize that it was not only not really a stretch, it was like it provided so much value that it was more than paid for itself, right?
Yeah.
As far as and has it happened yet that you have able to reduce the frequency of your other visits yet, or are you still going with the same frequency, or is it just
I'm still going with the same frequency, based on what they're finding and how I'm feeling. As my PT mentioned just this week, she said, you are a very involved case. There's a lot of structural issues and past injury issues. A torqued neck from forceps delivery at birth. So my neck has got a lot of muscular imbalances and spinal imbalances in that. So there's just a lot of things going on.
Right.
So I haven't yet, but I've improved.
Yeah. And what I explain to people is, like, when you have, like, you've had physical issues for so many years, it's like the layering of an onion. It's kind of like you peel away layers. Some people have, like, these phenomenal healing effects, like in the first few days of using the REDjuvenator. I mean, tons of them. Or, like, they completely get rid of things like eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis, muscle pain, chronic pain, things like that. When there's injuries, that can take a few weeks where you have to regenerate tissues. But when you have, like, chronic illnesses that you've been dealing with, or issues or trauma from early childhood, then it's like, then you're peeling away the layers and you're healing from the outside in, basically, and from the inside out. So, but you've noticed that your healing process has dramatically accelerated, right? So that
I've even got a 43-year-old snowmobile injury on the inner right leg that has improved drastically since using it, and they've all worked with it, and they've all found blockages, they've all found issues with it, and they've all been working with it for 5 years, and they're all like, even this is improving. Yeah. So the stuff that they thought was like, this is so ingrained, it's really hard to reverse that. Yeah. So it's all unraveling now. So it's all starting to heal, because, again, it's like replenishing that depleted life force energy, because you bring that up, and then you have that fuel source. So your body can then do all the healing that it needs to do. So yeah, it's great. I'm very happy to hear all of that. So, and people often think that it's like, I have this problem and it's like such a drag, and I hate feeling this way. But if you understand that our illnesses are actually gifts for us to go through these learning processes, and it's all a very good thing. I mean, it's like, depending on how many lessons or what you're supposed to learn, that's how long it will take for you to be able to get through all of that. And then in the process, it's like, oh, but I've learned so many things that there's no way I would have learned about otherwise had I not had this level of suffering. So, and I've been there myself. I have a long history of, having all kinds of health issues when I was doing something that I was very unhappy, working in the corporate field, working as an engineer, designing submarines for Lockheed. It was very life-sucking, and I felt I was getting sick all the time. And when you
when you're in a situation in your life that is depleting you, or you have some early trauma and it's never been resolved, it just kind of chips away and chips away and chips away at that life force energy. So when you start bringing that back, then all of the symptoms and all of the problems that have come from that early deficiency then start to heal all at the same time. That's why, and you can't just isolate the healing benefits. It's like the whole body, the whole system heals. Have you had that experience where you feel like everything is healing at the same time?
Definitely. I would say the level of pain is less overall, and how quickly I respond to anything from my own self-treatments and strengthening too. I haven't been doing that much movement since I got the red panel. Of course, I've been using my time to sit in front of the red panel rather than do some of my exercises. And it got cold, and I like to do them outside, and I wasn't doing them as much. But then I would go back to do my exercises and go, even though I haven't done them for 4 weeks, I'm doing them better than I was before.
Right.
So that was a surprise. It was like, how can I get stronger when I didn't do anything?
Yeah. And that's a disconnect for people too, because they think, well, my muscles, I need to train my muscles. It's like, no, if the energy is going to your muscles, the reason that you kept having to work them so much before is because they weren't getting the energy they need. So when the meridians are blocked and the energy flow going to those muscles is blocked, it's basically the muscle doesn't have the energy that it needs to be able to do what it's supposed to do. So it's like analogous to a lamp. You take a lamp and you plug it into an electrical socket in your wall. And if you put a light bulb in and then you turn on the lamp and it immediately burns out, and you're like, wait a minute, okay, that must be a defective light bulb, because the one that I just replaced burned out, and now I just put in a brand new one and it burned out. So you go get another light bulb, you put in a new light bulb, and it's like, turn it on, boom, light bulb burns out instantly. And you're like, okay, I must have gotten a whole defective box. So you go get another box of light bulbs, and you go through one light bulb at a time, and the light bulbs keep burning out. And you're like, what's wrong with these light bulbs? Man, I keep getting defective boxes. Now, if you're smart, you might realize, okay, maybe it's not the light bulbs. I bet it's the lamp. If the lamp is the problem, I need to get rid of this lamp. It's a defective lamp. So the light bulbs are, changing the light bulbs over and over again. That's analogous to taking a pill with Western medicine over and over again. We're not going to ever heal this problem. We're just going to give you a pill. So you have to take it now every day for the rest of your life. Okay, well, we know from the lamp analogy. So that's not fixing the problem, is it? It's just you spend a lot of money changing those light bulbs every single day, and every few minutes you get a few minutes of light and then it goes out. So you get rid of the lamp because you're like, okay, it's not the light bulbs. It can't be the light bulbs. It can't possibly be those that are so defective. I've got such bad luck. I get 5 defective boxes. So you finally, okay, I'm going to get a new lamp. I'm going to put this one over here. I'm going to bring in a new lamp. Bring in a new lamp. Plug in the lamp. Put in a new light bulb. Light bulb burns out. You're like, oh man, I got a defective lamp again. So you keep putting in new light bulbs. It's like, oh, this is a bad lamp too. Then if you're smart, and you're like, maybe it's not the lamp. Maybe I need to look behind that socket. So you open up the socket and you're like, oh, look at this. There's a short circuit in the wire. You fix the wire. You bring back the old lamp. You bring back the old box of light bulbs, what's left of them, and they all work perfectly fine. So the problem was never with the light bulbs. The problem was never with the lamp. So, Western medicine gives you pills, like changing your light bulb over and over again. When that doesn't work, they're like, okay, we've got this, your arm, your shoulder isn't working, so let's do surgery on it. Or your knees aren't working, let's do surgery on them. Let's give you a hip replacement. Let's replace these parts. So it's like getting rid of the lamp, right? Getting rid of the lamp and bringing in a new lamp is not going to solve the problem either. That's why people, when they have knee surgery, it's like it might alleviate the pain for a little bit, but then the problems all come back, because there's not a problem with the knees. There's not a problem with the muscles around the knees. There's not a problem with your muscles being weak. The problem is that they're not getting the energy they need. So you fix the wiring, you get the energy flowing, and you turn the energy back on that has been diminished because your life force energy is depleted. You bring back that flow of energy, and you get all of the wires reconnected, and you get all the kinks in your hose unkinked. Then the muscles just start doing what they're supposed to do. So you don't have to then be trying to struggle to lift weights to make your muscles stronger, because it doesn't matter how many of those exercises you do, you're not going to make the muscles stronger because they're not getting the energy. That's why you can take 4 weeks off of doing your exercises and get stronger without doing a single exercise, because now they're getting the energy they need and now they're performing the way that they're supposed to. Does that resonate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, I think we covered everything. So I'm glad to hear that things are going so well. And you've only had your REDjuvenator for 4 months, and now you just recently got a second one, so you don't have to battle over the one REDjuvenator anymore. So you benefit from them. All right, well, thank you, Sharon. Thank you for sharing all of your experiences, and keep me posted with your healing process.
I'll do.
Thank you. I'm gonna stop.